The title of this poem is called American Pie. Permanent makeup, pale as ivory, any color in between it and the darkness of onyx, attached to an unasked for heritage applied at birth without permission. I looked into the mirror each morning, rejecting masks and being non-submissive to my surroundings. I searched in me for the land that was free. Free to be anything I wanted to be, refusing to conform to the negativity of my race. I live in a place they consider a pot, melting, watching the solids change to liquids and then evaporating me. Whose outside consists of one shade, but America's heat expels different rays under the sun. I looked into the mirror each morning, trying to figure out the reasons for stereotypes, and at a point in time it had me questioning my existence. But self-love put up a resistance to America's definition of my many ancestors. A cultural mutt is all they choose to see, but if I reside in America, then America is me. No matter the hood, suburb, reservation, or trailer park in which I was raised, or the eyebrows raised when I speak, or my long-lost cousins never acknowledging me, I am free to be who and what I want to be as long as the avenues I travel suit me. I looked into the mirror each morning, searching for the divine purpose promised to me, never conforming who they wanted me to be, but progressing further, unlocking my own shackles. I will not arrest myself because different versions of America are portrayed of who is right or wrong at the end of the day, and some still don't quite get it yet. One morning, I looked into the mirror. Pupils were equally dilated because adversity was not staring back at me. In my eyes, the biased society has been defeated. I smiled at life's pains that led to lessons. I laughed at things lost along the way. Proud of my liberty, my soul wrapped in my integrity. I am a proud American because first, I am proud of me.
Next, we will have Mr. Terrell Alexander, who is known as the man with the fedora. He always wears a fedora or a hat. And so, Mr. Alexander, if you will.
One nation, stand together on one land. Green fields, swamps, mountains, deserts, and concrete jungles. Rebellious at times, searching for liberty, equality. We come from various places, from Japan to Africa, Europe to Mexico, some by choice, some by force, judged on color or skin tone, origin or accent, sometimes discriminated against like the run of a litter, yet still celebrated like the underdog who is now the champion. Though rarely are we only one, a mixture of various cultures and ethnicities, our nation a layered cake, built on various ingredients, black, Asian, white, Native American, an isolated feeling of our religions and beliefs, roaring drums to the dancing Shiva, the Tibetan to the crescent moon, David's star to the rugged cross. Spread between our layers of ethnicities, topped and decorated with our traditions. The roaring lion dances with the silent dragon. The white lamb now rests with the dark wolf on his native land. Our skin tones and shades vary, as do our traditions. We all bleed red, the color of a sweet summer rose. One nation are we, red, white, and blue. We all stand proudly.
Next, we will have Miss Jessica Parrish. Miss Jessica Parrish talks about the interconnectedness of her family unit.
The circulatory system of my ethnicity. A family is like a warm quilt wrapped around your heart. It all begins and ends with the heart. Family comes from a long line of rich history, rich not only in wealth, but also in our work ethic. We are a family of hardworking people in pursuit of the American dream. The blood that runs through my veins is of many diverse people. In my veins runs the blood of the kings and queens, gamblers, steamboat captains, cowboys and Indians, cotton growers, postmasters. My family comes from the farms of France, the castles of England and Ireland, the Wild West, along the Mississippi River, and even the battlefields of the Revolutionary War. Just as the journey of our blood travels through my body, so does the blood of my descendants. Like a net of veins, ancestors of my past can be related to how the circulatory system works. Even though my veins may be spread throughout the body, they all eventually meet and connect at one major point, which essentially makes me who I am, the heart.
And I could always depend on Miss Parrish to have that beautiful smile every class period. We have with us now Mr. Ronnie Reese, who always has a joke for us. And so we will now have his essay, if you will, sir.
The other, Lion King of Valley Ranch. The best days of your life is the one on which you decide your life is your own. No apologies, no excuses, no one to lean on, rely on, or blame. The gift is yours. It is an amazing journey, and you alone are responsible for the quality of it. This is the day your life really begins. It took me a while to get here, but I'm here. The king of Valley Ranch, and my home is my kingdom. But in my kingdom, I am known as King Mufasa. Yes, you read this correctly. Just like the lion from the movie The Lion King. If you haven't watched it, if you haven't watched The Lion King since 1994, I'll refresh your memory. Mufasa was the ruler of the Pride Lands of Africa. He had a son named Simba. After his father's untimely death, Simba struggled to take the rule as king of the Pride Lands. He runs away from his destiny. But eventually he comes back to reign, to regain his birthright, and now has to prove to the others that he's fit to lead.
Thank you, sir. And lastly, we will have Miss Sharika Gaines. She talks about some of the issues of colorism within her essay.
The title is The Skin I'm In. She's such a pretty girl with her long hair and big eyes. That was just one of the many comments regarding my skin tone that I heard growing up. As I grew up, I started to realize that being light-skinned entailed more than just being red. It was a job, and it came with responsibilities that I wasn't sure if I was ready to take on. Colorism is a silent devil that sneaks into the mentalities of many closed-minded African Americans. It is a form of racism that is prevalent in the black community. Feeling powerless to change from this mentality of favoring or judging someone based on one's skin tone, some African Americans simply chalk it up to the way things are and make very little effort to abandon this practice. At least that's what I have experienced within my life.
And so you all were able to listen to them read their introductions. We didn't have time for them to read their essay in their entirety, but as you have Ms. Parrish, she's discussing the interconnectedness of her family, like the circulatory system, how they're connected in terms of her ancestors from the past, and how that resonates with our ancestors of today. Mr. Reese, his essay talked about the issue of masculinity and fatherhood, and falling into the footsteps of his father for the strong work ethic that his father displayed to him throughout his life. And I always enjoyed having Mr. Reese in my classes. He would keep me on point. He always had something cheerful to say to brighten up my day. And then Ms. Gaines was talking about the issue of sometimes being stereotyped because of the color of her skin and being misjudged by her peers and some of the different definitions that they have in the African American community dealing with one's skin color and complexion. And so for our poets, you were able to hear their work in its entirety. And Mr. Terrell, he closed the journal, and as Ms. Antara mentioned in the documentary, she had the responsibility of starting off the journal. And so I was very pleased with what they submitted to me, and the fact that they would want to give me such intimate details of their life. I truly felt honored to have them within my classroom and to have them as my staff members and also as close friends of mine. So I appreciate everything that they've done. And the fact that we are here at the Louisiana Book Festival, that's been a dream of mine, and they allowed that dream to become a reality. So thank you. Now we would like to open up the floor for questions. If you have any questions, you can come up to one of those 3 microphones. Or if you want, you can just stand up and ask a question.
I'll just stand up. As a writer, you are like a sculptor, chipping things away many times. But did y'all have the opportunity to have your fellow students be sounding boards? Because at a certain point, you have to recognize you're not the audience. And sometimes your emotions, sometimes the words, the phrases you use don't convey to an audience like you would hope that. So you get the response from someone else. Did they have that opportunity to do that, to read to each other and help get some feedback?
Well, Mr. Verrett, we had an editorial staff that was student-based. The project was entirely student-based. We did have some faculty consultants, but what they would do, they would submit their essay to me, and they went through several stages. And Mr. Verrett, let me say something about Mr. Verrett. He's a well-known children's book author and illustrator, and I have been blessed to have the opportunity to work with him. And I just recently published a children's book, and he was my illustrator. So thank you for being here. And so what they would do, they would submit the work to me, and I would converse back and forth with them. And then they would also submit the work to a group of student reviewers. So their work was also looked at and reviewed by their peers.
Okay, so there was a complex process in place. All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering, how do you get to the point where you're willing to reveal yourself in the written word? Because the students so eloquently did that, and they weren't
Thank you.
afraid. So how do you get over the fear, which maybe they don't have, but I wouldn't?
Authors, poets, if you will. And thank you for that question.
Once I get a topic or something that inspires me, once the pen hit the paper or the fingers hit I just let it flow. And we're writers we are our worst own critics. We critiqued ourselves the worst. And as he stated in the documentary, it's like, okay, is this good enough? Let me reread it. Let me take this out. No, let me put this back. But once you get a topic and you have an avenue to go down, I don't even know how to explain it sometimes, but I just go, I just write. And then when I send it to Professor Jima, she's always like, oh my God, this is wonderful. What were you thinking about? And I'm like, I don't know, it just comes out. So, I write what I feel, I write wherever my mind is going when I have a specific topic.
And like I said earlier, Miss Jackson, her pen name is Queen of Expressions. That is her pen name. Other writers and poets? Thank you, Miss Jackson.
I don't know if I've gotten over the fear yet. I'm scared now. But I think the important thing was to just do it. You know, it was like, if I failed, I tried. So that's all I had to keep telling myself, because I'm just, I'm scared of being open. You're open to people to criticize you, you're open to, but then I had to realize when you're open, you're also open to, good comments and positive vibes. So it was just to do it,
My story was a little different. I have a daughter who's 13, and when the topic came up in class, I was kind of struggling with it, and she came into the home one day, and the teenagers now are not like how we was when we was growing up. So she said something sarcastic. Sounds like I just sat there in a trance, and I said, what would my father have done to me? I said, if I'd have came here and said that, he probably would have, did something violent. But, so they got me to thinking about, how I am with her and how my father was with us. And that made me really think about it and say, I ought to write about that. The differences between me and my father. And his reign as king and mine. And see what I need to do better. So that's where mine's coming from.
Jackson. Yeah, when I get a topic, I get a pen, I just let myself write. And my biggest fear with this was, is it gonna be good enough? And I am my biggest critic. I kept telling myself, it's not gonna make it. It's not gonna make it. But feedback I've gotten has really helped me become a better writer, actually. but it was a good experience, really. It actually opened me up more. And yeah, I'm still afraid sitting here.
I took this more of as an opportunity to learn about like my history and everything. So my grandma was really big into genealogy, so I took it as a opportunity to learn where I come from and my family. And I guess I kind of did it in a nerdy way and compared it to the circulatory system. But I don't know. It just gave me more of an opportunity to learn where I came from and the people and the struggles that they had to go through and to overcome, all their challenges that they faced.
Are there any other questions? And thank you for that question. Dr. Durant, who is Professor Emeritus at Louisiana State University and was the Director of African American Studies for quite some time at the university. Sir?
Thank you and good morning. I enjoyed all of the presentations. I've also had the opportunity to read them since I have a copy of the book already. But attending college, you have the opportunity to learn what other people think and who other people are. But you have, as authors now, told about who you are and what you think. And I think that's a wonderful opportunity for college students to be able to reveal their identity, their purpose, and who they are in this American society. And so my question is, what did your participation in this project contribute to your development as a student and your education as a student? As I heard maybe a couple of you commented on that already, but anybody else would like to have any insight on that, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Durant.
Well, it has, the experience was, well, of course I graduated, so I'm 2 years out of school, and for me, the class I didn't really need. I really didn't need it, but it was my last English class, so if I decided to go to a 4-year college, I don't have to take it anymore. But this class was a fun class. I love this class because I was able to express myself, and it helped me come out my shell, around people. And pretty much college for me it helped me to know what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be. And actually, what I'm doing now is what I wanted to do. It took me 8 years to get through college, through the 2-year course. That's another long story. But it took me 8 years to do a 2-year course. But I finished and I did it. But I realized what I wanted to do, and it's what I'm doing now.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Anyone else for how the project contributed to your overall growth as a student or along the pathway or the journey to achieving academic excellence? Anyone else?
I'm always one to second guess myself on everything I do in life. They give me a confidence boost and discipline because I'm one to slack off at times. It taught me that the harder you work, the better off you are. That's pretty much all I can say on it, though.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander.
Graduated. She contacted me once she decided to let those students actually write the journal. But as she stated, I've been a writer. I'm a poet. I have a poetry book that's waiting to be published. It's been professionally edited, paid for that, and it's just sitting there. So once this was done, this one poem in this book, and she said, "You're an author." Like, wow. And she always asked me, what are you doing with your book? What are you doing with your book? And as well as other people that know me, what are you waiting on? And it goes back to that, it's not good enough. It can't be published. Nobody's gonna buy it. It's a poetry book. People barely read poetry anymore, you know. But when this got done, and the bio was written, and I'm sitting in the seat, it's like standing outside of yourself. Like, that's me. I'm an author. I'm about to publish my book. So it pushed me over the mountain edge that I was just standing there looking. And so that's how it helped me.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Like he stated earlier, it was a really fun class, and it kind of just opened my mind up to, there is different people out in the world. They come from different things, and you shouldn't just, I guess, judge people because you don't know what they've been through. And so it just kind of, I guess, opened my mind up to, different, like, I don't know how to put it, but, and also, it just it kept me like motivated, knowing that I could achieve things in school, because I was just kind of like would slack off in school, I guess, and not really care too much. But then I realized that if I actually put my mind and time into something, then I could actually achieve something great. So it's helped me along the way, and I'm at Southeastern now, and I've been on the president's list for the past 3 semesters, so I'm proud of myself now. But yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Parrish.
I would say that the experience was really uplifting. It came at a point when I was struggling with my math class, so it was like a deep breath for me, because I love English, and I was able to open up and kind of release some stress, and it helped me to realize that if you put your all into something good can come out of it. It was kind of hard when she emailed me the first time, and she was like, they're thinking about trying to get it published, and I was like, not my essay, not the one that I wrote. And I said, well, let me see if I can go back and find my copy and try to see what she saw, And I called my sister, and I was like, I don't really know if I can do it, because I have an uncle who's a very established author, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to walk in those footsteps. So, but it helped me, and it really, opened some doors for me and let me know that, this is really what I want to do. Because at first I was like, the math class is killing me. Maybe I'm not supposed to be an English teacher. Maybe you're not getting through this, and maybe it's not for you. But it was just like you can do something type of thing. And it came in, I think, the perfect time. So.
Thank you, Ms. Gaines. Are there any other questions for our poets and writers? Yes, ma'am.
How did the title come about?
Well, with the title, I was trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to say, but yet being able to get these different types of responses in terms of the different experiences that the students have had with understanding who they are, as well as how others have tried to define them and what definitions they let govern their lives. It was as though it was a mosaic, if you will. Different pieces of their lives. Some pieces, meaning ethnic autobiographies, were very rugged. Had a wide spectrum of different topics that were discussed. Students talked about their own inner demons, how certain students were saying that if they would have continued with the lifestyle that they were living as social chameleons, it could have led to incarceration or their own demise, fatal demise. And then on the other side of the spectrum, I had the very jovial essays, the very lighthearted essays where students are talking about their family reunions and the food that they eat and the traditions within their family. And then there were students talking about traveling abroad and how they have a global perspective and how that shapes how they look at themselves as Americans, being more well-rounded. Students talking about the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. So then we go back on that other side of the spectrum where we have students talking about great tragedies and disappointments and how they were able to be a survivor of Hurricane Katrina and the stereotypes that people placed on them being evacuee. And so we had all different types of issues that were discussed, from students talking about discrimination to them having a sense of pride for their heritage based on their grandparents telling them about their lineage. And so when you put the rugged pieces, the disheartening essays, with the smooth pieces, these very joyful essays, it all creates this majestic mosaic that's absolutely beautiful. It's stunning. And that's what makes America what it is. I mean, we all embody different stories and experiences and accounts within our own lives. So I said, well, okay, well, what could I entitle it? And I said, well, America is beautiful, with the hurt and the pain and the triumph and the happiness. All in all, at the end of the day, it's still beautiful. You know, like in the summertime, the sun might be however so intense and however so hot, but it never stops shining. No matter if people appreciate it or people complain about it, the sun doesn't stop shining. If we have certain issues that occur within America, America still doesn't stop. It's still America. It's still beautiful at the end of the day. So that's why I decided to entitle it America the Beautiful in spite of it all.
Well, I had no idea what was going to be presented, but I like the title. I thought it's a good way to start the day.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad that you're here. Thank you.
I'd like to read more.
Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate you saying that.
Professor Jima reached out to me. She told me to be the voice of reason, find the positive, but also connect myself into it. And when she sent me some of their essays, she didn't send the title of the book. So she knew the title, but she didn't tell me the title. And I told her, I said, well, you know, when I wrote it, I said, I think I'm going to call it American Pie. And she was like, wow. Like, it was just confirmation. Like, it was just flowing all together. And then she told me the name of the book, and I was like, wow. You know, but I did American Pie is because I knew the guidelines behind the essays that she wanted to print. Like she said, different stories, different people, different walks of life, different meanings of their life in America. At the end of the day, sun gonna shine. I learned even when it's raining, the sun is hiding behind the clouds. It never stops. It's just hidden. And pie, everybody loves pie. But to get a good pie, you gotta put in a little work. Mm-hmm. So it just came. I was like, American Pie.
Are there any other questions? And thank you, Ms. Jackson. Yes, ma'am. We have with us Dr. Jackson, who is the current director of the African American Studies program at LSU, and she also is one of the presenters for today.
Morning. I really enjoyed the presentation, and I've read some of the pieces in the book, and I think it's something that you can launch to something else, and I just want to know what's next. I know, you know, would you do something with the same group of people, or how do you do your selection of, you're going to do another book, or just what is happening next?
Well, Dr. Jackson, we are pleased to say that we received about 3 weeks ago the Academic Enhancement Grant at Baton Rouge Community College. We received it once again, and so I have met with the first group of writers this past Thursday, and we are in the process of publishing a second issue. So right now, we're just getting the framework together. I have students that had taken me for the spring semester and a few others who had taken me from that fall semester. I kept their work. I told them there was a possibility that we would reapply for the Academic Enhancement Grant to do a second issue. So I have those 2 semesters worth of students who were excited when they got the phone call that we had been accepted for the BRCC Academic Enhancement Grant. I'm working with them, and then students who are currently taking me outside of my English 210 class that are taking me for my composition classes, and other students who are part of the I2 Am America Club, which is a multicultural awareness club that I founded back in 2009 at BRCC. They're working, and so we're going to do a second issue. I have with me Mr. Crawford Wheeler. If you'd stand up, sir. He's one of my club officers for the I2 Am America Club, and he will be contributing an ethnic autobiography. We have Miss Cyrus, if she would stand up. She had taken me last semester for my English 210 class, and she'll be submitting an ethnic autobiography. And then we have Miss Kayla Thomas, who graduated, and she's expressed an interest in submitting an ethnic autobiography. And Miss Melissa Smith, she will be our photographer for the Race and Ethnic Studies Journal, the second issue. So I'm very happy that they're receptive and that they decided to come here and volunteer to assist me today. I appreciate it. And they also will be volunteering in other panel discussions at the book festival today. Yes, sir.
I just have a comment. One of the things that I would like to see with the essays on who is an American. Some 35 years ago, there was a course at LSU called Social Life in America. And it was designed to inform and educate people who come to this country about who Americans are. And it was the most difficult course to teach because nobody could really say who an American is in one breath.
That's right.
So, and I think this is sort of a beginning because you have given us at least part of the gumbo to expressing who Americans are. We can start right here with this group because contrary to the melting pot theory that came out in the 60s, we have now emerged a new theory of diversity called the gumbo. That's perfectly fitting for Louisiana, by the way. And so maybe in trying to define who is an American, we can look at the pieces of the gumbo and see how they all fit together to make this beautiful America that you have depicted in your book.
Thank you, thank you. I love that suggestion too. Who's the American? I'm going to write that down. Thank you, sir. Mr. Wheeler?
I also have a question. I know being an author is a gigantic task, and just keeping that creativity flowing has to be astronomical. What do you do when you encounter writer's block? Do you have a particular place that you go to eat a particular food? What do you do to just keep that flow running?
That's for you all. Thank you, Mr. Wheeler.
I listen to music and that kind of refers to what I'm writing about. It helps me relax. And yeah, I do kind of go off into my bedroom and lock myself away and clear my head first before I write again.
I've come to enjoy quiet. TV not on. I get lost in my thoughts. And I've also found out that I'm the water. If I go and sit by water, go downtown by the levee, and I'm just watching. And the older I've gotten, I've understood that I love to people watch, and that's what keeps my mind going. Like I can sit and I'm looking at him. I'm like, wonder what he's doing today. Wonder what he does. How does he work? Does he have a family? Like I people watch. And at first I thought it was kind of weird. And I told one of my friends, I asked her, I say, do you ever look at people and like wonder about their life, wonder who they are? Like, just watching somebody. And she was like, yeah, but probably not to the extent that you do, because I have a vivid imagination. Like, I can probably give you a whole nother life. You probably don't do anything, but that's what keeps my mind going. I just create in my own mind. You're probably a totally different person in my mind, but that's what keeps me going. Quiet, like writer's block, and it's so aggravating. Oh my God, it's very aggravating. But peace and quiet, or I go sit by the water. Well, if they'll see me somewhere and I'm just looking at you, I'm not staring, I'm creating.
Well, if there aren't any other questions, we would like to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here with us today. It truly is, as I stated earlier, a great honor and privilege for us to have this opportunity to be here as presenters. And I know that you all have taken time to be here to present today. So thank you for being here, and those who also have volunteered their time. And we have Director Mitchell, one of his best students, with us, Mr. Zachary, and then we have also a professional camera crew, Mr. Cole. Thank you as well for being here to record this event, and then Mr. Ambu, who also made this possible at the State Capitol. If you would like to get the opportunity to personally speak with these authors, we will be at 11 o'clock at the Barnes & Noble tent signing a few copies of the Race and Ethnic Studies Journal, and if you could fill out that survey that was given to you if you did receive one for the project, we would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so very much for being here with us today. We thank you.